Hello and welcome back to the Stronghold. That's right, it's that time again. It's Tuesday morning, and we want you to play Midweek Magic. This week's event is one of the most budget-friendly, whether it was F&M or Midweek Magic events. This one being all access standard. For one brief moment in time, you can forget about being a free-to-play or budget player, cast all your worries aside, and play like you had a complete collection. And hey, if you're going to have a total collection, why not play the best deck? Stay tuned. Let's talk about it. But before we get into all that, let me take this opportunity to invite you to subscribe to the channel. See, back in January of this year, I set a goal of having 100 subscribers before the end of the year. And boy, have we come a long way since that time. And while I may be doing a lot of the work, I can't do it without you. You see, this isn't one of those huge YouTube channels that gains or loses 1,000 subs in a day and hardly notices. Around here, you matter. Just like all these folks here matter. See, thus far, we've got up to 81 subs out of our goal of 100. And while I know they're not all listed here, these are the folks that have answered the call and made their subscription to the channel public information. And I want to take this opportunity to not only invite you to join the community if you have not done so already, but thank all of these fine folks, because around here, my audience matters. It's what shapes the channel. It's what I drive for. And one last thing, I'd like to do something cool when we do hit that goal of 100 subscribers. Problem is, I don't really know what to do and have very few ideas. So if you have a moment and you have a thought, comment it down below on what you think we should do to celebrate our goal of 100 subscribers being reached. Now, what were we talking about? Oh, right. So without further ado, allow me to introduce to you what I think is the best standard deck right now. There's a bunch of different versions running out there, and this particular one is running about 15% of the meta right now. And if you were to lump all the very similar mono white or nearly mono white builds out there together, you could actually put together a meta percentage approaching 25%. This deck is just really difficult to beat. It has between a 60 and 64% win rate, depending upon, again, which version you're looking at. This version that I'm going to show you today is tweaked just ever so slightly, dropping a land from the original build and adding a second copy of Glorious Anthem. Again, if you can play with any cards, regardless of whether they're in your collection or not, I see no reason not to play the most successful deck in the meta right now. And 25% of the meta with a 63% win rate is pretty hard to argue against. Now, there's a lot of things here you're going to be very familiar with if you've been around the channel for any length of time, because really there's some very core staples here going on, and then there are some very high-handed and solid additions to the deck in the form of extra rares and mythics that you may not normally have in your collection. I think everyone knows Life's Bounty at this point. Not only is it a one-drop lifelink creature, but it can protect other creatures. Selfless Savior, it's a dog, woof woof, and it also protects other things. Speaker of Heaven, you got one of these in last year's new player experience, or this year, depending upon how you're still looking at it. But since we can, we're going to run a full boat of 4. As you can see, I am lucky enough to have that full boat regardless of the all access event. But if you don't, now you do. Luminarch Aspirant. This is a card that if you've been following my advice, you probably don't have 4 copies of. There is one in the upcoming new player experience, or expected to be in the new player experience, but for tonight's event, or today's event, I guess I should say, you can run 4 copies. Another card that you should be very familiar with if you've been around the channel for a while is our legendary demigod Daxos. This has been a favorite card of mine all through this budget season. It just fits so nicely into this mono white build, puts down a lot of protection, and it gives you a lot of life gain props. A new card for us today is Elite Spellbinder from Strixhaven. We are going to be running 3 copies of this. It's flying. When it enters the battlefield, you look at your opponent's hand and exile a non-land card from it. For as long as that card remains exiled, its owners may play it. A spell cast this way costs 2 more to cast. So in other words, you're basically taxing the opponent while playing a 3/1 flyer for 3. Pretty darn good. Heliod is a mythic that you may or may not have in your collection, and it's very unlikely that as a budget player you'd have 4 copies, but tonight you do. It's a 5/5, it's a legendary enchantment god, and it's indestructible as long as your devotion for white is 5 or more. Heliod, or excuse me, when it becomes 5 or more, it becomes a creature, otherwise it's just an enchantment. But of course it is adding 1 to that, and as you can see from the other cards we have already talked about, it is not really that hard to get to 5. It gives you more life gain props and +1/+1 counters. Really pretty nice. Glorious Anthem, I think this is a card everybody knows from M21. It's literally an anthem effect. This is where that term comes from. Creatures you control get +1/+1. Linden, the Steadfast Queen. This is the 3-drop from Throne of Eldraine. A 3/3 for 3 with Vigilance. White creatures you, whenever a white creature you control attacks, you gain a life, which is kind of the theme of the deck. Lurrus as a 3 count. I know I have been lucky enough to have 1 in my collection, which for me up to this point has been pretty darn good. But 3 mana, 3/2 lifelink. During each of your turn, you may cast 1 permanent spell with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard. So that's any of these. Last turn, you sacrificed your Selfless Savior to save one of your big beat sticks. Well, now you can bring it back to the battlefield for just 1 mana. Pretty darn nice. A card that I am not as familiar with, but glad to have the opportunity to play with, is a 4 count of Blade Historian. 4, in this case, white mana. Attacking creatures you control have double strike. So the way I'm seeing this deck is it's pretty much just all out aggro with a life gain flavor. So you play your 1, your 2, and hopefully get a really nice 3 out of it. Drop your Blade Historian and then swing double strike on all your ridiculousness that you have put together. That double strike is probably going to clear the field and allow you to win in the next couple of turns at the very least. So a pretty straightforward deck, something that I think most of my viewership is going to be fairly familiar with. And remember, when it's an all-access event, why not play the best deck? That's your one chance to not have a budget restriction and go for it. So I hope you enjoy it. I'm looking forward to playing it myself, and I can't wait to hear from all of you in the comments how you do with this deck. Good or bad, tell me about it. Let's talk about it.
Wait, what's that? You didn't catch all that? Well, Matt wants you to know the links are in the doobly-doo. And of course, an event like Midweek Magic is all about those 2 free, rare, possibly upgraded ICRs. There is no cost to playing other than your time, and this is an event that you should definitely be getting involved with every single week. And while I'm not a particular chaser of cosmetic items, when you do take part in this event, if you have the option, link up with your local game store and get a redemption code for 2 free cosmetic upgrades for your collection. Not real cards, but cosmetics can be fun. And of course, if you are a player of physical Magic, be sure to partner up with your friendly local game store whenever possible, because as far as I know, Walmart, Target, and Amazon does not provide space and community for Magic players. And with all that having been said, please take this opportunity to like, comment, and subscribe. It is the budget way to support this budget channel because it doesn't cost you a thing. Do it for Graham. Do it for the algorithm. Do it for the iced coffee. And until next time, I'll see you in the arena.